As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Or we could talk about the doc totally trashing last week's announcement of Valkyrae and CouRage joining 100 Thieves ownership group. We could talk about that.
Ooh, can you bring that up briefly while the chat decides what serious story we want to talk about?
Sure. Let's bring that up.
What did the doc say?
Yeah.
So let me just recap so everyone knows what we're talking about here. Last week, we talked about Valkyrae, or last week or 2 weeks ago, talked about Valkyrae and CouRage becoming co-owners of 100 Thieves. And the doc had an opinion on this. And basically he said they made it more of a PR thing. And if you read his full thing here, it says, I think they made it more of a PR thing. It's not like CouRage is getting 25% and Valkyrae is getting like 25%. You know what I mean? I think they're probably getting 1%. Maybe 2% stake in ownership. That would be my guess. So they just decided to make it a big PR move. And there's your views and impressions. So the doc basically saying, I'll paraphrase, I'll put words in his mouth. They're not really co-owners. They own a tiny bit of stock. And this was more just to generate buzz and press. I just want to put this next to another story where Nick Merckx announced that he's going to be a co-owner of FaZe because he's getting some piece of the pie too. Again, probably like 1% or less. How do we feel about influencers calling themselves co-owners when they have such small equity stakes? And do we agree with the doc is the question.
I mean, if you want to go with the professional sports comparison, I don't think that we pretend that every professional athlete is a genius who should own part of the team. So I don't think the doc is far off here.
No, but the question is like, if you own, if they give you, like, look, my view on this last week was par for the course. If you have key employees, you give them some equity, right? So they're incented. But you don't go around and call yourself a co-owner in the normal business world, right? Like if you're an employee and I give you some stock, you don't put co-owner in your title.
No, I put it on my license plate and a bumper sticker.
Right? You're a shareholder. You may feel like an owner in the business because you are. It's just as a title, I think the doc is saying this is total PR move because they don't own much of the company. I mean, Gabe says the sad part is doc is right. Do you guys feel differently?
No. I don't think these people are business geniuses is my point. I don't think they went in with a structured plan. Like if I generate this much revenue, I'm going to get this much ownership. And I don't think they're going to be like active owners. I don't think they're going to be helping make a lot of the decisions. I don't think they have a large piece of the pie. Totally seems like a PR move.
Agreed. I think it's total PR. And I like FaZe is just such a repeat offender on this like co-owner front. There are so many owners of FaZe Clan. You literally just search owner FaZe Clan on LinkedIn and there's probably like 50 names that come up. It's just, I think it gets out of hand and it sort of cheapens what it is to be an investor in those businesses in some ways. So Chris says, how much PR is Shaq owning NRG? Chris, do you know how much of NRG he actually owns? Like, is it a token amount, like an advisor, like, 0.5% or 1% or 0.25%? Like, is it that, or does he own a big chunk? Because I actually don't know. I know in the article we mentioned, we talk about on the podcast tomorrow around NRG and the general, that article does mention Shaq helping or supposedly helped broker the deal because he is the face of the general insurance. Right? He does the TV ads. So he helped.
Shaq is everywhere. I mean, the guy.
I
is-
love Shaq.
He's an enterprise.
My
I
man,
mean,
he never turns down a check.
So, but like, it's pretty small, maybe, but at least here he brought value, right? As an owner or investor. And I don't know. I think if you're those small amounts, I'd rather you just say you're a shareholder. Or,
well, it's weird. It's weird in that are they both employees and co-owner? Because it's not weird to call yourself co-owner of something if it's you're just an owner and you're not an employee. Like there's plenty of people who
true.
own 2% of like the Golden State Warriors and say, hey, I'm a co-owner of the Warriors, right? Which is fine, but it's weird if you're also an employee. Like if you're like, hey, I'm a co-owner of Facebook because I work at Facebook and got some stock. Like, yeah, maybe definitionally, I guess you are a co-owner, but like I also am a co-owner. I own like 50 shares of Facebook, like that. You're a shareholder and you're an employee first. But in this case, if they're not employees, to call themselves co-owners, I think makes a little bit more sense.
I mean, the doc pointed out it's a PR move, and I would argue on that front, it was a success, right? A lot of people talked about 100 Thieves and CouRage and Valkyrae becoming owners. And so, hard to argue with the doc there. The Real Island says Shaq and A-Rod both bought stake in the team together, so Chris is right, just another PR stunt. Agreed.